and that's when I heard it. Breathing.
Oh, God! He did one off right then and there. Oh, ew. So, get your snacks, cuddle buddy, and yo,
We're getting into the stories. I'd like to talk about today's sponsor, Factor 75. October's a busy month for me, and I struggle to find as much free time. Thereby, I have less time to meal prep and cook. That's why Factor has been extremely useful for me. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh,
You know what Factor sounds like? Cluckter? I don't know.
Frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and leaves you more time in your day-to-day life by skipping the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue.
Oh, yeah?
Instead, you get chef-crafted meals delivered right to your door. Factor has over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Factor has been extremely convenient for me lately, as I go with the high protein options, with my favorite being Peruvian chicken with red pepper cauliflower grits and roasted broccoli, perfect for after the gym. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50nightmare to get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code 50nightmare at factor75.com to get 50% off and free shipping on your first box, plus 20% off on your next box of orders.
Nah, I'm good. Appreciate you, though. I'm good. CK!
Let me give you some context so the story I'm about to tell you is more understandable. Our cat Cosmo has always slept in the basement, every night since...
Cat named Cosmo. You should get a dog named Wanda. And it make... No. Cat named Cosmo. Another cat named Wanda. Make a baby. What's the little baby name? Puff? Or she purple, I think. I haven't watched Family Oddparents in so long.
He was a little kid. Our parents would scoop him up from wherever he was lounging and stick him in the basement.
Oh no.
They detested all the cat hair he'd leave behind on their bed, which I guess was understandable. He was also an outdoor cat, so if one of us forgot to put him in the basement at night, he'd wake my parents up at 3 a.m. screaming to be let out.
Oh shit.
The basement's huge, the biggest room in our house.
I'm not doing, if I was a cat, I'm not doing all that. I'm not screaming, I'm not, if I gotta use the bathroom, I'm using the bathroom. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care who I'm with. I don't care what's going on. I'm using the bathroom.
So I figured he liked having all that space. A little over 2 weeks ago, as I'm writing this, he started acting weird. There's a little landing at the top of the basement stairs just behind the door.
What?
That's where we'd usually put him. After a few minutes, he'd walk down the stairs and sleep on whatever piece of furniture he pleased. One night, I placed him delicately on the landing and gently shut the door, something I'd done a million times. As I was filling my water glass in the kitchen, though, I heard him meowing from behind the door. That was odd. He usually trotted down the stairs immediately. I finished filling my glass and walked over to the door, wondering if someone had maybe forgotten to fill his dish. I opened the door, and he darted out into the living room as if he were chasing something.
Oh, shit. Oh, it's something or somebody down there. Oh, God. What do you name? Cosmo is probably like, AKA, get me the hell out of here.
I checked the dish, and it was completely full. Weird, I thought, turning to go find him. I put him back on the landing step, closed the door, and that was that.
No. If I'm Cosmo, and I'm running like somebody or something is behind me or with me that shouldn't be there. Excuse me, I'll run out, and you find me, and you scoop me up, I'm scratching all shits out of you. I'm scratching your face, your neck, your arm scratching. I'm digging my claws so far into your goddamn skin. I'm not. Don't you put me in there.
The next 2 nights were essentially the same. I'd put him on the landing, close the door, and start getting ready for bed. After a few minutes, I'd hear him repeatedly meowing. I'd go over to the door, and it was always the same thing. He'd just linger at the top of the stairs, refusing to go down. I worried that maybe he was just getting old, but that was a thought I didn't want to confront just yet. It killed me to do it, but I just ignored him, knowing he'd walk down the stairs eventually. The day after that, he refused to enter the house at all. Usually when he wanted to come in, he'd just hang out at our front steps or by the back door until one of us saw him through the glass and let him inside. At one point, I noticed him curled up on our doormat. I went to let him in, but he didn't move. I went out and petted him a little before going back inside. A few hours later, I walked by the door again and saw that he still hadn't moved. It was getting late, so I picked him up and carried him inside, which he wasn't too happy about. I knew he didn't want to go to sleep downstairs, so I let him sleep in my room that night. It wasn't a big deal, and he seemed a lot calmer that way. Of course, that solution didn't last. For the next few days, my dad kept complaining that someone was leaving the basement door open. He was mad because it was letting all the cool air escape downstairs. Air conditioning wasn't free, which was something he loved reminding us. I assumed it was my sister. She's always been the type to leave doors and drawers open without thinking. I didn't really pay it that much thought.
What? Your sister sus as hell.
I was just happy that Cosmo seemed to have mellowed out after being allowed to sleep in my room. One night, I woke up randomly in the middle of the night. In my groggy, half-awake state, I glanced over to the door and saw something weird.
Oh, God.
There was a silhouette standing in my bedroom doorway.
Oh.
It was just standing there, perfectly still. I could tell it was a person because I could see their outline in the faint glow of the lamp we'd been on the bed.
Oh, my God.
I figured it had to be my sister, so I called out to her, but the figure moved.
You don't know your own sister's, like, outlining of the body? That's a grown-ass man. You don't know what you talk about. Unless your sister bulky is like, you know what I mean? Like she...
Way without a word. I was too tired to figure out what she wanted, so I just went back to sleep.
Oh my God.
A couple of days later, we discovered what had been keeping Cosmo awake.
A couple of days. All right. So, how long has it been in the story's time? Like in their time, since Cosmo first started meowing. I want to say it's been a week and a half, 2 weeks, of just a stranger in your house.
In the basement, a flea infestation. The whole place was crawling with them. It was disgusting.
Oh my God.
We assumed the fleas were the reason Cosmo had refused to go down there, which made sense, but it was strange how they came out of nowhere. We'd never had a flea problem before, and Cosmo always wore a flea collar. My dad yelled at my mom for not changing out his collar, even though she swore she had. My dad went all out, tearing through every corner of the basement to clean it thoroughly. We vacuumed the carpets, sprayed the entire room, and washed everything down with flea-killing solutions.
Oh, yeah?
He told us to stay out of the basement for the next few days so that any stragglers would die off without a host. It seemed like a good plan, and I figured that'd be the end of it. But then, a few nights later...
You know what thinking about fleas is like, what if, like, they can jump far as hell? So how you know, like, God forbid, like a flea or fleas didn't like latch onto you, and then now you go back upstairs. Now they're all over the goddamn house.
Their strange thing happened. I was lying in bed when I noticed light seeping in under my door, flickering on and off like someone was playing with the hallway switch. I told myself it was probably just my dad getting up to use the bathroom or something. But the flickering continued, going on for longer than seemed normal. It was starting to freak me out, but I couldn't bring myself to check it out. I lay there, heart pounding, staring at the bottom of the door, hoping it would stop. Eventually, it did. I forced myself to fall asleep after that, but I've never felt more uneasy in my life. A few more days passed without incident. My dad said the basement was probably clear, which was great because I had been missing playing video games down there.
Oh, yeah.
After getting home from school, I went down to the basement. As soon as I got down the stairs, though, I noticed something was wrong. There were still fleas down there, a decent amount of them. It didn't make any sense. After all,
You got them cluck-ass fleas. You know? You better hope to God them Adidas don't got no... Them fleas don't got no Adidas... Wait, what? You better hope that those fleas don't have no Adidas blood in them. Because if they do, they not going nowhere. Oh, God. They living in your house rent-free. That's crazy. They're going to be in your house for like the next like couple years.
Cleaning. They should have been long gone. I went back upstairs to call my dad at work, but he just said to give it time. He insisted that any fleas left would die soon enough. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something else going on, though. It wasn't normal for fleas to keep thriving like that after everything we'd done. So the next day after school, I decided to investigate a bit further. I went down to the back of the basement and into the storage room where we kept some old boxes and tools, figuring maybe a rodent had gotten in and died somewhere. I opened the door and instantly knew I was right. The smell hit me almost immediately. This thick, rotten stench that clung to the air and made my eyes water. I followed the smell to the far end of the room, where there was an unfinished crawl space that connected to the plumbing for the...
A crawl space?
So we all know that on Earth, there's more water than land.
That's not true.
How so?
There's more land under the water.
This whole house is clogged. A crawl space? A crawl space. The things I don't like about a house that some houses have are attics. Some of y'all know this, some of y'all don't. Attics, basements, and I think crawl spaces. And if we want to push it even a little, you know, if we want to add one more, what's it called? What's that thing? It's on the tip of my tongue. What's that thing that's like, it's so basic, but I forgot the name of it. A chimney. Yup. Jesus.
House. It was pitch black back there, and the smell only got stronger as I stepped closer. I didn't want to go in there. It was too dark anyway.
Then don't.
I turned to grab a flashlight, and that's when I heard it. Breathing.
Oh God! He get one off right then and there. Oh, ew.
It was faint at first, but steady, like someone was hiding in there. I froze. I felt a pit forming in my stomach. The breathing...
Hey, see, this is why anybody that's not welcome in my house, if you in my house and I don't know you, you get plugged up. Especially if you on some cluck ass intentions. On me, if I had them, I would get like either like tennis balls, size balls, and fill them up, fill them up with some hot ass temp at 350 degree oil. I would have them right, it's like in my pockets, fat ass pockets. And if I heard that breathing, I'm just rolling them. Come on. Leaf blowers. I need like a soundproof shit. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm rolling and I can't really throw them. It might freak him out. But I'm gonna just roll the oil balls, and they'll have a timer on it for like 20 seconds. Just enough for me to go upstairs. They're gonna burst open. Yup. Yup, cluck his ass up.
Louder, as if whoever or whatever it was coming closer. I backed away. Before I could react, I saw a figure lunge toward the end of the crawl space, moving fast. A hand reached out for me, but I jumped away before it could grab me. I didn't stay to get a better look. I ran upstairs as fast as I could, slammed the basement door shut, and called the police. When they arrived, they searched the house, but there was no sign of anyone. They found some empty chip bags and food wrappers stashed in the crawl space, but that was it. Whoever had been down there had escaped through the storm door at the back of the basement. The officer said it was probably a homeless person who'd snuck in looking for shelter, but I couldn't help but wonder how long they'd been living there and how much they'd seen. My parents were twice as shocked as I was. We've kept the basement door locked ever since, and Cosmo still won't go anywhere near that door.
Oh, and me, I'm not going down there. No more. The hell, Adam. Wait, a dean? Hey, how do you say that? How do you say that?
I don't remember every detail of this story since I was only around 7.
Right.
But my parents have filled in some of the gaps over the years, and there are still bits and pieces that stick out in my memory. So here goes. I'm an only child. Yeah, it kind of sucked growing up by myself, but one of the...
I saw a TikTok video that was like, why do we celebrate Halloween? You know? Like this demonic ass holiday, this scary ass holiday. Why do we... I don't celebrate Halloween, but like, it's nothing about this that we should be celebrating. Who came up with Halloween? Like, where did that come from? Nah, yeah. Whoever decided to do this and to make it a holiday, clock yourself.
was meant that my parents were a lot more involved in my life. They'd really go out of their way to make sure I was thriving, and I look back appreciatively on that.
Oh, yeah.
Every year around Halloween, my parents would transform our basement into a haunted house. It wasn't anything fancy, just some old decorations, fake spiderwebs, strobe lights, and a lot of enthusiasm.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing was for a good cause. You had to donate canned food to get in, and my parents would give everything we collected to the local food bank.
Okay.
They even made flyers and passed them around my school and a couple of other elementary schools nearby.
Right.
The vast majority of people who came were parents of kids in my school, but there were always a handful of parents and kids that we didn't know.
Oh, no.
My parents actually welcomed that. The more strangers there were, the more food they'd be able to collect, and the greater the likelihood that the haunted house would be a hit.
No.
We lived in a pretty big brick house in Haverton, Pennsylvania. A lot of the houses in our neighborhood were fully brick for historical reasons I won't get into. That also meant that most of them were really old too, since it was kind of frowned upon to do any remodeling. Our house was the kind of place that already had a bit of an eerie vibe to it, especially at night with its old creaky floors and dimly lit hallways. Every year, my cousins Jeff, Rick, Chaz, and Eric would come down to help my parents set up and manage the night. Usually, they'd dress up in scary costumes and hide around the basement to jump out and scare my friends. That year, they decided to go all out and wore matching anonymous masks. You know, those kind of creepy white masks with the blank expressions. The haunted house was a big hit that year, as usual. We had a good crowd going by early evening, but my parents told me later that there had been a strange man who showed up before things really got started. He wasn't with any kids, which was odd since the haunted house was mostly for families. He said his wife was planning to bring their daughter later on, but he wanted to drop off some food cans early. My parents didn't recognize him, but they figured it wasn't a big deal. They thanked him, took the cans, and stood there awkwardly before he got the hint and left. As the night went on and more people showed up, the basement got pretty chaotic. I remember trying to keep up with my friends, who were screaming and laughing as we ran through the decorations. At one point, one of my friends came up to me crying, saying someone in an anonymous mask had scared her. I tried to calm her down and told her it was just one of my cousins, but then she said something that made my stomach drop. She said the person had grabbed her wrist and tried to pull her into a closet.
Shit.
I didn't know what to make of it. I thought maybe she was just being dramatic.
What you talking about? What? You either clock him up or clock up some Adidas to haul ass.
But the look on her face told me she was genuinely scared. I went and found my parents and told them what she said. They took it seriously and went down to the basement to check things out. They asked my cousins if they had seen anything strange. Jeff, Rick, and Chaz were all in their positions, and each one of them swore they hadn't done anything like that. But then my parents noticed something else. Eric wasn't at his post. Just then, everyone started to panic. Eric came running down the stairs. He said he'd taken a break to use the bathroom upstairs, and that when he came back, his anonymous mask was gone.
Oh, jeez.
He figured one of the other guys had taken it as a joke. That set off alarm bells for my parents, and they immediately shut down the haunted house. They made everyone leave and called the police, who came and searched the house, but, of course, nothing turned up. That night, I was still a little shaken up, but I figured it was all over. I fell asleep easily enough, but then I woke up to this tapping sound. It was soft, but noticeable, like someone was repeatedly knocking on my bedroom window. I was too scared to get up, so I just laid there, pulling the covers over my chin, hoping I could just fall asleep. After a few minutes, the knocking stopped, and I managed to drift back to sleep. But a few hours later, I was woken up again, this time by a scratching noise. It was more urgent than the knocking had been, like someone was clawing at the window frame. I was terrified, but something inside me snapped, and I threw the covers off and rushed to the window. I yanked open the curtains, and my heart nearly stopped. There, staring back at me, was a person in an anonymous mask, only inches away from the glass. I screamed for my parents.
My ass was, I was bracing for impact. Oh my God, I thought it was gonna be a jump scare or something. That's why I did all that.
They rushed into the room, and I pointed frantically at the window, but by the time they looked, the person was gone. We called the police once again, and they searched the yard and surrounding area, but they didn't find anyone. There were no signs of forced entry, no footprints, nothing. The property was clear. A few months passed, and things settled down. The haunted house was just a memory by then, and my parents had started to ease up on their extra security measures.
What you mean?
Then, one day, I came home from school to find an anonymous mask laying on my bed.
Oh, God!
It wasn't just any mask. It looked exactly like the ones my cousins had worn that night. But the thing that really freaked me out was the writing. Scrawled across the forehead in black Sharpie was my name. How the hell had that guy even known my name? We called the police again, but there wasn't much they could do besides file a report. My parents added more security cameras and made sure all the doors and windows were locked tight every night. They really went over the top with the security.
You should have been done that, you dumb ass, Clark ass, Seth Clark motherfucker. Oh, having all the people over your house. Hell no, you should have been done that.
A full alarm system and putting sensors on every window, including the upstairs ones. After that, nothing else happened. At least not that we could prove. The next few months were fine, but I swore I kept hearing things outside my bedroom window. Tapping, scratching, you name it. It was probably nothing, but it got to the point where I was scared to sleep in my own bed. I've since grown up and moved out of that house, but sometimes I still wonder if there was more to the story behind what happened to me all those years ago.
It was. What are you talking about? You know it did. You know, what are you talking about? Hey, Nick, what's up? You a Clark ass?
I recently got a job at a Mexican joint in a neighboring town.
Right.
The area was a bit sketchy, but it wasn't anything I couldn't handle. I was also pretty desperate for money, so it's not like I really had a choice. Plus, I figured working nights wouldn't be so bad, since I'd have most of the day to myself. The restaurant itself was decent enough, but the manager, Carlos, was, well, shady. He always scheduled me for the worst hours, kept me late, and never seemed particularly concerned about following the rules. He was the type of guy who made you feel like you couldn't trust him. But like I said, I didn't have much of a choice. I needed the job. One night, while closing up, I started hearing these weird noises. I was mopping the tiled floor in the kitchen when I first heard it. As I was mopping, I picked up on these two muffled sounds that sounded like soft thuds and scraping. They were coming from below the floor. It was faint at first, but I knew I wasn't imagining it. The thudding and scraping would alternate, but I was...
Battery low.
Alright. Jesus. Thank God I got my charger. For my leaf blower! Damn! I'm coming. Hold on, whoa. Oh, it's just...
But I knew I wasn't imagining it. The thudding and scraping would alternate, but I was positive that there were two distinct sounds I was hearing. I listened for a while, and the noises continued for a minute before stopping completely. It startled me, but I brushed it off as something small, maybe an animal outside or the pipe settling.
What?
But it kept happening. The noise would start up when the place got quiet, just as I was finishing up my cleaning. After a few nights of this, I told Carlos about it.
After a few nights, Klitsch, I'm telling him that night. He's in cahoots. He has something to do with it. I promise you that. Like, nah, I'm good. No, yeah. I'm not doing. I'm either not doing night shifts no more, or we out.
It off immediately and told me it was nothing and to stop worrying. He went as far as to say the restaurant didn't even have a basement. That's when I got a little suspicious. I knew he was lying because I had literally seen the window wells around the back of the building. I wanted to tell him that, but held my tongue. I figured I'd give it another day. Maybe the noises would stop on their own. Of course, the noises continued. I complained to him the next day and told him that the place must have a basement since there were literally windows below the ground. That's when he gave me this strange look and insisted that there was no basement. He told me that the previous owners of the building had sealed it years ago and no one can get in or out. Then he told me in a firm voice to just focus on my job and stop poking around. The way he said it, so dismissive and firm, gave me a bad feeling.
You know what? You know what, Carlos? It's kind of I have to talk loud because of leaf blowers. It's kind of funny and kind of sus and kind of clucked up and kind of, that you're not here right now, right during the night shift. And a matter of fact, it seems like I'm the only one here right now. And I'm hearing shit. What the fuck going on? Huh, Carlos? Hey, Carlos, I promise you what, if I get clucked up, and if I, if I make it out alive, I'm coming for that ass. Pause, and I'm beating that ass. I'm finding you, and it's wraps. I'm coming for your ankles and your kneecaps. You're not gonna be able to walk again. Cluck. Y'all were literally out here like last week. Maybe a week and a half. Y'all were out here not that long ago. Come on.
I didn't want to lose the job, so I dropped it. I figured maybe it was just some animal that had somehow gotten in. It was just weird that Carlos was so insisting on not checking it out or taking me seriously. For the next few days, the noises persisted. Every night it was the same, those strange, low thuds and occasional scraping, like something or someone was moving down there. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, but I tried to ignore it. Then one night after closing up, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to take a look for myself. I walked around to the back of the building where the window wells were. I crouched down and tried to peer through one of the windows. It was pitch black inside, and I couldn't see anything, even with my phone flashlight. Just as I was about to give up, a light flickered on inside the basement just for a second. Then it snapped off before I could see anything clearly. I froze, my heart racing, unsure of what I had just seen. I rushed back to my car, too freaked out to go back inside, but I didn't tell Carlos. Something about the whole situation made me feel like it was better to keep quiet. I was not prepared for what was about to happen, though. The next time I closed, I couldn't resist the urge to go check out those windows again. I fully admit that my hands were shaking as I walked around the building.
That's funny how your hands are shaking, but not your feet. Your feet need to be shaking to be ready to haul ass and kick rocks. But it's not. Your hands are shaking. The wrong body parts are shaking right now. You need the right body parts, which are your feet, to be shaking, to be vibrating, to be ready at all times.
Nothing good was going to come from poking around. I crouched down to get a good look. This time, as I leaned in closer to get a better look, I saw it. Pressed up against the glass was a face.
Oh,
It was a man,
Jesus!
but not just any man. He looked completely deranged. His hair was wild and his face was filthy, like he hadn't bathed in weeks. His yellow eyes were wide, staring right at me through the glass. He bashed his head against the window and gave me this demented smile. I screamed and stumbled back, totally losing my shit. I ran for my car without looking back. My hands shook as I fumbled with my keys, but I managed to get in and speed off before anything else could happen. The next day, I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I went straight to Carlos and told him everything.
What? Jesus. Oh, his name is Carlos. Oh, wow. I said Carlos because it was like a Mexican joint. And so I just said Carlos because, you know, that's a, you know what I mean? I wasn't trying to be like racist. I wasn't trying to be racist or like ignorant or anything. I was just like, Carlos is like the first name that popped into my head. It's like a Latino name or like a Spanish name. I did not think his real name. I forgot his name was Carlos. I'm not going back to the job. Well, if I do, I'm gonna cluck up his ankles and his kneecaps and be like, Klitsch, why did you lie to me? You lied to me, right? Not to my face, but like, you lied to me. That's clear as day. Right? And then I'm gonna leave you there so you're not going nowhere, right? Right? And then I'm gonna call the police and I'm gonna watch from a distance.
To my surprise, he didn't even try to deny it. Instead, he sat me down and actually told me the truth. He admitted that the person I had seen was actually his brother, who had been living in the basement. He said his brother was mentally ill.
So why didn't you just say that in the first place? Why did you? Carlos. Punta.
Dangerous even, and Carlos had been hiding him down there to keep him out of trouble.
How
The
long?
basement had been sealed off to the public years ago, but Carlos had found a way to let his brother live down there, away from prying eyes. He urged me not to say anything, and said he'd appreciate it if I forgot this whole thing ever happened.
Yup, and I appreciate it if you give me like a $15 raise too. Plus paid vacation, plus time off the holidays, but I still get paid for the holidays, double time. Right? You paying for all of my insurances. Right? Free meals for life. Even after I quit. Right? Right? I'm collecting all the tips every time. Alright. I'm working 3 days out of the week, and for the 3 days I'm working about 4 or 5 hours, if that. But I'm gonna still need you to pay me my $40, my 40 hours overtime. I mean 40 hours, you know what I mean, for the week. Yeah. Yeah, you want me to not say nothing, right? You want me to shut up, right? You want me to not say nothing, right? You want me to shut up, right? Oh, why?
I didn't know what to say. I wanted to quit right then and there, but I couldn't.
My ass.
I was so strapped for cash that the idea of looking for another job didn't feel like a real option. So I stuck around, convincing myself it would be fine as long as I stayed away from the basement.
Oh my
I
God.
tried to keep my head down and avoid Carlos, but the whole thing left me on edge. A few weeks later, something happened that made me regret staying. It was late, and I had just finished closing up. As I walked to my car, I noticed something or someone lurking in the tree line next to the parking lot. It was just a figure, but I knew in my gut it was a person. I had a feeling I knew who it was. My heart started racing, but I pretended not to notice. I kept walking, trying to stay calm, but then I heard footsteps behind me. I glanced over my shoulder, and there he was, the same man from the basement. He was hobbling strangely toward me, but clearly moving as quickly as he could. I scrambled for my keys and managed to unlock the door and throw myself inside just as he reached the door. He slammed his face against the window, smearing it with dirt and sweat, and started pounding on the glass. I screamed, but I couldn't think straight. All I knew was I had to get out of there. I sped off as fast as I could. I'm not sure how I made it home that night without crashing. I've never been more scared in my entire life. I still thank God that he had some kind of limp, otherwise he would have definitely caught me. That was my last night working at the restaurant. I called the police from the safety of my apartment, but I never went back. I didn't want to know what happened next, whether they found the man or if Carlos got in trouble for what he'd done. I just couldn't be involved anymore. Even now, though, I can't shake the feeling that Carlos might come looking for me one day. I don't know if he'd go to great lengths to do something like that, but it's a thought that sits in the back of my head. I never found out what happened to the restaurant, Carlos, or his brother, and honestly, I don't think I want to. Maybe I'll take a drive by that restaurant sometime in the future.
Please
but
don't.
For now, I want to stay as far away from that place and those people as possible.
I hope Carlos don't hold anything against you, or like any grudges, or like just holds on to shit, because it's like as soon as you saw his brother and y'all made eye contact, it was over. You literally became you was in the middle of that shit. Like you, oh man, I'm scared for you, to be honest. I don't know what's gonna happen to you. I don't know if Carlos is just waiting, plotting and scheming. I don't know. I just know that you better watch your back, lock all your doors, lock all your windows. You know what I mean? Get some cameras in your shits. Cause that's man. I'm sorry, but yeah, you got caught up in the middle of that. I don't know what you're gonna do, but you gotta do something. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, my family.